Bob Knight did quite an interview today. And he was on my buddy Dan Patrick's show. I like Dan a lot. He's obviously Knight, been on this show many times. I'm sure there's a lot of people today that don't like what he said. He was asked if he'd ever go back, in essence. And what he said was, he'll never go back. And then he said, for the people that were in charge, those who were in power at the time of his dismissal, I think I've always really enjoyed the fans. I always will. On my dying day, I will think about how great the fans at Indiana were. As far as the hierarchy at Indiana University at the time, I have absolutely no respect whatsoever for those people. With that in mind, I have no interest in ever going back to that university. And then he basically said in not so many words, quote, "I hope they're all dead," end quote. And then when he was reminded that some of them were dead and others were still around, he said that he hopes they all go too. So the ones that were still alive, he encouraged them to drop dead too. Now, I have to tell you, that is just the greatest thing I've heard in at least 5 years. There is no line greater, in my opinion, than hearing Bob Knight wish death on everyone that ever had anything to do with him at Indiana University. I went to Indiana University, and Miles Brand died. He hated him the most, so I'm sure he was happy that he died of cancer. And you know that's who he was talking about. And he couldn't stand him, because that was the guy that put the zero tolerance on his head. And then he wished death on the rest of them, which I thought was just beautiful. That's just me, though. You know, I'm not Mr. Friendly either. So I got to tell you, just so you know, I'm going to be clear here, and then I'll go to the update. I've wished death on 1 million people on this show, and every time I do it, Mafia dumps it. So every single time I wish death on someone on this air, Mafia has dumped it off of the show. Mafia refuses to let me get into trouble for wishing death on people, but I think it's one of the great ways to get your point across. If you can't stand somebody and you really don't like them to a level that's just overall just at the peak of hate, and you just wish death on them, I think it's fantastic. And if there's people I can't stand, I don't want them around anyway. Screw them. I hope they die. Mafia has dumped it 1 million times on this show to save my ass. But now that Bob Knight has wished death on everyone that ever ran Indiana University, I wholly support him through and through till the end. And I wish death on all of those people on top of his death wish. How do you like them apples, Mafia?